Dr. M. Laxmidevi, Associate Professor in the Department of CSCDS at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Today we will discuss about unconditional control structures in C. These are also called as unconditional control statements in C. So these are break, continue and go to statements. So today in this video lecture we will discuss about unconditional control statements, that is break, continue and go to statement, along with the syntax and some sample programs. So coming to the introduction. So in unconditional control structures, so we have three statements: break, continue and go to statements. So we'll see the syntax and then we'll see the program also for each of these statements. So first one is break statement. So break statement, we have seen the use of break statement in switch case. So switch case is used to evaluate a number of cases. So if this is the syntax for switch case, switch, and then after that we write the expression. So expression after that, so inside this curly braces we write the different cases. So case after that followed by case constant 1, and then here we write the statements. So after the statements, break. So if this expression matches with the case constant 1, then these statements will be evaluated. So whenever the compiler sees this break statement, then after the evaluation of these statements, so when the compiler sees this break statement, control is transferred to out of the switch case. Then similarly, so if there is no break statement here, then the control is transferred to the next case and those statements will also be executed. So therefore, in order to avoid the evaluation of all the cases which are there in the switch expression, so we write the break statement. So now let us see the use of this break statement in programs also. So in loops also we use this break statement. So in order to come out of the loop. Now sometimes generally we use loops. So we have seen the syntax of loops. So there are different loops: entry control loops and exit control loop. So entry control loops they check the condition at the entry itself or before executing the statements which are there in the main body. Whereas exit control loop, first the statements are evaluated, after that the condition is checked. So here sometimes it is required to break out of the loop. So whatever the statements are there in the loop, so those statements are to be skipped. So even if the condition which is there in the test condition which is mentioned in the loops, so even if the condition is true, so sometimes in order to come out of the loop, so we use break statements. Now we'll see the syntax for this. So in any loop, break is used to jump out of the loop, skipping the code below it without caring about the test condition. So syntax for loops is just while. So this was the syntax we have seen for while loop, for implementing while loop in a program. While, after that we need to specify the condition, and then inside the curly braces we need to write the statements or block of statements which are to be executed in the while loop. So if this condition is true, then the control is transferred here and the statements which are there inside the loop, those will be evaluated. If the condition becomes false, then after the while loop, whatever the statements are there, so those statements will be evaluated. So here we write the update expression also, otherwise it becomes a infinite loop. Now in this loop, if we insert this break statement, so then even if the condition becomes true, then the iterations, so all the iterations which are there, so which the while loop will execute, so those iterations will be skipped. So the loop will no more repeat. The control will be transferred to out of the program. So in short, you can say that this break statement is used to terminate the loop or to terminate from the loop. So it interrupts the flow of the program by breaking the loop and continues the execution of the code which is outside the loop. So whatever the statements are there inside the loop, so those will not be executed once the compiler or the program sees the break statement, and execution of the code will be which is there outside the loop. So those statements will be repeated. Common use of break statement is in switch case. So where it is used to skip remaining part of the code. So as we have seen, so there are a number of case cases, along with the case, we write the case labels. So if this expression is equal to this label, then here it is performing equality check. So if any of the expression is equal to any of the label, then those statements will be evaluated. So for that we use this break statement. Break is a keyword. So we have discussed the keywords in the video lecture titled C tokens part 1 and part 2. So there we have seen the different types of keywords which are there in C. So break is a keyword. So we know that keyword, whatever the keywords are there in C, so they are to be written in lowercase. So therefore this is written in uppercase, lowercase. So therefore break is written in lowercase. Next, let us see the syntax for using break statement in different loops. So if we don't use it in loops, so you will get an error. So we have to use it in loops only. So first, syntax for using break statement with for loop. So for, after that we need to specify the initialization, then condition, test condition to be evaluated, and then updation. So inside the for loop we write the statements which are to be executed. So in the absence of if condition, so this step will be performed, initialization, then test condition will be evaluated. If it is true, the statements 1 and 2 will be evaluated or executed. So after that, updation will be performed, then again test condition will be checked. If this condition becomes false, then the control is transferred to out of this loop. Now we have written a break statement here. Now let us see how this loop performs. So in the presence of break statement. So first, so in addition with the break keyword, we need to write, or we need to specify the if along with condition also. So we have to write conditional statements here, or conditional statements are also called as, so these are nothing but conditional statements, or also called as branching statements, also called as decision making statements. Decision making statements. So here we will be using the conditional statements or decision making statement like simple if. So whenever we need to make use of this break statement, or whenever we need to break out of the loop or terminate the loop, we use this break along with if condition, along with this decision making statement if, followed by condition. Now let us see. Now next one, while loop. So inside the while loop also we can make use of this break statement. So while, this is the syntax for while loop. So while test condition is evaluated, if it is true, then the statements inside this while loop will be executed. If this condition is false, then the control will be transferred to out of the while loop. Next, if we put a break statement here, then let us see the execution of this. If there is a break statement here, even though this condition is true, statement 1 will be executed. If this condition becomes true, then followed by this we have the break statement. So whenever the compiler says break, so control is automatically transferred to out of the loop. So if this condition is satisfied. If this condition is not satisfied, or if this condition evaluates to false, if it evaluates to false, so these statements will be executed and the loop will repeat. So once this condition becomes true, so we can see the flow in this way. The control is transferred in this way. If this condition becomes true, even if the condition is true, this statement will be executed. If this evaluates to true, then the next control is transferred to break statement. So immediately after this, the control is transferred out of the program. So in this way, we can understand the use of break statement in C, making in while loop. Next is do while loop. So here also we can understand similarly. So in the do while loop, we know that do while loop is exit control loop. So exit control loop is the loop where test condition is evaluated at the end. So after the statements are executed, after that the test condition is evaluated. So this is the syntax of do while loop. Do, inside that we write the statements followed by while condition. So if this, now let us see the use of break statement in do while loop. So this do while loop will be executed when the test condition is true. So this statements will be executed repeatedly when this condition is true. So when the compiler sees this if condition followed by break if this condition evaluates to true. If this is evaluated to true, then control is transferred to this break. So whenever the compiler says break, so control is transferred to out of the program. So in this way, we can make use of break statement in do while loop. Now let us see one program, C program, to take input from the user until the user enters 0. So the program is just to take input from the user, and so it has to, we can interpret that the user has to give the input repeatedly until if the user is entering 0, then the program or the loop has to terminate. So let us implement this with the help of this while loop. So we have declared a variable a, integer variable a, so it will store integer value, while 1. So 1 is, so in the test condition we have mentioned 1, this is a non-negative value or non-null value. So this will evaluate to true always. So this expression or this condition will be true always. So next printf statement. So this line will be executed, enter the number. So scanf statement. So user is prompted to enter the input with the help, to enter the input. So that input is taken with the help of, so that input is given at the, that input is stored by the variable a. So at the address specified by this, at the memory location specified by this variable a. Now it will go on repeating. So here while is an infinite loop. So here the programmer will ask for the input repeatedly until the user enters 0. So when the user enters 0 here, so when the user is entering 0, the if condition will become true and the compiler will encounter the break statement. So if the user is entering 0 here, so next line break statement is executed. So this will cause the flow of execution to jump out of the program. So in this way, next is similarly one more program we can see. So this is a program to print the numbers from 1 to 9. So as soon as the user enters, so this is a program to print the numbers from 1 to 9. So this is one way in which you can write the program. So these are the different ways in which you can write the program. So first one, this is without using break statement we have written to print the numbers from 1 to 9. So here number we have initialized with 1. Number is an integer variable and its value is initialized to 1. So while the condition is 1 less than 10. So 1 is less than 10. So therefore it is true. So when it is true, printf statement will be executed and 1 will be printed. Now num is incremented by 1. So num is equal to num plus 1. So next 2 will be, so num value is equal to 2 now. So 2 is less than 10. So printf statement 2 will be printed. So in this way, this loop will go on repeating till the condition. So when this number is equal to 10, 10 is less than, up to 4, 5, 9, it will be printing. When this condition is checked, 10 is less than 10, this becomes false. So this becomes false means the control is transferred to out of the program. So this is the program to print the numbers from 1 to 9. So we can write the same program by using break statement also here. So see here, so we have initialized num variable with 1. So num is equal to 1. So we used while loop here. So here 1 means it evaluates always to true. So this is always true. This is an infinite loop you can say. So here printf statement. So here in the printf statement we are printing the value of num. So num plus plus updation is also there. Updation expression. So as soon as this condition becomes true if num is equal to 10. So this while loop starts with num is equal to 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 9 will be printed. So after that when num value is equal to 10, so 10 is equal to 10, the condition becomes true. So when 10 is equal to 10, the condition becomes true. When this condition is true, it will enter this if block. So in the if block, we have only one statement, that is break statement we have written. So as soon as the compiler or program sees this break statement, control is transferred to out of the program, or it will terminate this while loop. So after the while loop, we don't have any statements. So there will be termination of the And this is the end of the program. So in this way, so this is a program written to print the numbers from 1 to 9 by making use of break statement. So similarly, you can write the program by using for loop also and also do while loop. Next, one more program. So here, so in this program, so we have used the break statement. So break statement is to be used along with conditional statements or branching statements or decision making statements. So we have, and also these are to be used along with the inside the loop. We have to use this. So break statement is to be used inside the loop. So if it is not used inside the loop, the program will give an error. So here, if you execute this program, you can see that, so you will get an error. Break statement is not within the loop or switch. So either you have to use the break statement within the loop or in a switch case. So if you don't use loop here, any of the loop, so you can use any of the loops, for loop, while loop and do while loop. So in the absence of loops, if you use break, then the program will give an error. Next is continue statement. Now similar to break statement, so next is continue statement. Similar to break statement, so we write or we insert continue statements are there in C to be used with if condition inside the block to alter the flow of control. So these statements are used. So in a loop, we know that there is a term called as iterations. So the loop will repeat for certain number of iterations. So until and unless the condition becomes false. So after the condition becomes false, so these iterations will be, the program will, the control is transferred to out of the loop. So the program will repeat for certain number of iterations in while loop or for loop or do while loop. So this continue statement, what it will do is, it will skip the iterations. It will skip certain iterations. It will skip the iterations. Certain number of iterations will be skipped here when we use continue statement. So similar to break statement, continue statement is also used with if condition inside the loop to alter the flow of control. So when used in while loop, for loop or do while loop, it skips the remaining statements in the body of that loop and performs the next iteration of the loop. Continue statement, when encountered, it doesn't terminate the loop. So whenever we use continue statement in the loop, so it does not terminate the loop as we have seen for the case of break statement. Rather, it interrupts a particular iteration. So that particular iteration is skipped. Again, the control is transferred to the loop and again that condition is checked. So let us see the syntax for using continue statement in C in loops. So here also continue statements are also to be used with loops. So inside for loop we have used continue statement here. So for and then write initialization, test condition and then updation. Inside the for loop we have to write the statements which are to be executed. So until the condition, test condition becomes false. So these statements which are there inside the loop, they will be evaluated. After the condition becomes false, the control is transferred to out of the program here, out of the loop you can say. Now if, so in order to use continue, so this continue is written in this way you can implement. The syntax for using continue statement is if followed by condition. So this is decision making statement which is used, simple if we are using, followed by condition, and then after that we are writing the continue statement. So this continue, so if the condition is true, after that, if this condition is true, first initialization will be done, test condition is checked. If it evaluates to true, statement 1 will be executed. If this condition becomes true, that means if this condition also is evaluated to true, then the compiler sees this continue statement. After that, whatever statements are there, so those will be skipped. Again, the control is transferred here. So it will not terminate the loop, rather it skips that particular iteration, and whatever the statements are there after the continue, so those will be skipped. Next is while loop. So this is the syntax to use continue statement in C. Continue statement in C, that is in while loop. So while followed by test condition, and inside the while loop we write the statements 1 and so on. So if this condition evaluates to true, these statements will be executed, and then if, so in order to use continue, So we have to write simple if followed by condition, after that continue. So if this condition also evaluates to true, then control is transferred here to continue statement, and then control is again transferred here. So after that, whatever statements are there, so those will be skipped and control is transferred to again for testing the condition. Next, for do while loop also. So this is the syntax to use continue statement. Inside the do while loop, we use a continue statement. So, but before that, we have to mention the if condition also. So if the test condition is true, then the continue statement will interrupt the flow of the control and block of statement 2 will be skipped. So whatever statements are there after this continue, those will be skipped. However, the iteration of the loop will be continued. But whatever iterations it has to perform, so those iterations will be performed. Now let us see the working of this continue statement with the help of program. So this is a simple program to print the sum of odd numbers between 0 and 10. So sum of odd numbers means, so these are the odd numbers 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. So in between 0 and 10 we have these odd numbers. So sum of this 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 plus 9. So this evaluates to 9 plus 1, 10. So 10, 20, 25. So this is equal to 25. So you should get the output obtained should be 25. Now let us write a program for this. Now see here, you can take the numbers from 0 to 10. So this program we have implemented by using continue. So this is a program. Here we have declared two variables, a and sum. So a is a variable and sum is another variable, integer variable. Some value is initialized to 0. So we have written for loop here. So this for loop will iterate from 0 to 9. A is equal to 0, a less than 10. So this for loop will iterate from 0 and then here plus plus incrementation means next value of a will be a plus a is equal to a plus 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. Next value will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So these are the different values of a which it will take. Now it will test the condition 0 less than 10. So 0 is less than 10. So after that it will check, it will go to this if block. So if before going to the if block, this condition is checked. So this condition a is a mod 2. A mod 2 now a is equal to 0. So 0 mod 2 is equal to, so that is equal to 0. So therefore it will go to this continue statement. So whatever the statements are there after this, so those will be skipped. Now control is again transferred here. A value will be incremented by 1. So now the condition checked is a less than 10. That means 1 less than 10. 1 is less than 10. So next, after that this condition will be checked. So 1 mod 2 is not equal to 0. So this is equal to 0 means this is false. So when this condition is false, so it will not enter this if block. So continue statement will not be executed. So we know that after this decision making statements, if there are only one statement will be executed. So inside this if block we have only continue statement. So after the if block we have this. So this line will be executed. Now sum is equal to, initial sum value was 0. Now sum is equal to sum plus a. So a value is equal to 1. So sum plus, now sum value will become 1. So this is equal to 1 now. Now again a value is incremented by 1. So a is equal to 2. So 2 less than 10. So this evaluates to true. So 2 mod 2 it will check. So 2 mod 2 is equal to 0. This condition is true. So when this becomes true, it will go to this continue statement, and when it encounters continue, so control is transferred here. So this statement will be skipped here. Now this state line will not be executed. So after that a will be incremented by 1. So a is equal to 3 now. So a is equal to 3 means 3 less than 10 will be checked. Now 3 mod 2 is equal to 0. This condition becomes false. So when this becomes false, so if this condition is false, so this continue statement will not be executed. So after that, whatever statements are there, so they will be executed. Now sum is equal to sum plus a. Initially sum was 1. So now with this, it is 3. So 3 plus 1 is 4. So in this way, so this line will be executed for all the values except where the if condition will become false. So 4 mod 2 is, so this sum will be equal to, so sum is equal to now sum plus, so for this, so it will execute sum is equal to sum plus 8. So we'll have 5 will be added, next 7 will be added, after that 9 also will be added. So final output you will get is, so after the for loop we have written this statement to print the value of sum. So in this way you can understand the program execution or control, how the control is transferred when in the loop we write continue statements. So it does not come out of the loop. So this continue statement, it does not terminate the loop, rather it skips certain iterations. When this condition becomes, so it will skip the iteration when this condition becomes true. So this condition is become true, becomes true for all even numbers. So for all odd numbers, so these statements, so this line will be executing. Next one is goto statement. So in addition to break and continue statement, we have another statement in C, that is goto statement in C. So these are also used to either to skip the statements or to repeat certain set of statements. So here also by using goto statement, so goto statement is used for unconditional jumping. Control can be transferred from any part of the program to any other part of the program with the help of goto statement. Now let us see the syntax. So this is a simple program where you can see here. So I have not written this, not included stdio.h. Header files are not included here. So int main. After that the first line is printf hello. So when this program is executed, hello will be printed. After that you can see here, so goto. So goto is a keyword which is to be used when you want to implement goto statements in C. So goto after that, so this is the label. So label followed by semicolon. So after this we have written printf statement. So corresponding to this label, so we have written the definition of this label here. So output of this program will be hello, and in the next line good morning will be printed. So why we are getting this output, and welcome is not printed here. So why it is so, let us understand it with the help of, first we will see the syntax and then we will see one program for this goto statement. So syntax here is, so we need to write the keyword goto followed by the label, after that semicolon, and these are the set of statements which are there in the program, and label you have to define here. So label is nothing but the name you can say. So the conditions for naming a label are the same as you have done for variables. So label followed by colon. So after that whatever statements are to be executed, so those have to be included here. So this is forward jump. So as you can see here, whenever in the program goto statement is encountered, goto followed by label, control is transferred to the line where label has been defined, the label definition. So this is label definition. And next, this is an example of, so there are two ways in which the control can be transferred. Either control can be transferred forward or backward, depending upon how where the label is defined. So if it is defined after the goto statement, if the label is defined after the goto statement, it is forward jump. If the label is defined before the goto statement, then it is backward jump. So with the help of this jump, certain statements are repeatedly executed, whereas with the help of this jump, forward jump, certain statements are skipped. So here this is the label followed by colon. Then after that the definition of the label has to be included. Then somewhere in the program, goto label followed by semicolon. So whenever the program says or compiler says goto followed by label, so control is transferred to the line where label has been defined. So goto statement, it requires a label to determine where to transfer the control. A label must end with colon. So label must end with colon. Any valid name as a label similar to variable name can be used. So label is nothing but a name given, you can say. So its naming convention is same as we have seen for, or naming rules are same as we have seen for variable names. So when compiler encounters goto statement with a label name, then it transfers the control to the location where label has been defined in the program. When goto statement is used, so either some statements are executed repeatedly or some of the statements are skipped. So when you place, so there are two ways in which control can be transferred. So one is backward jump and the other is forward jump. When goto statement is placed after the label, control jumps backward direction and some statements are repeated. So such type of jump is called as for backward jump. When goto statement is placed, so here you can see when goto statement is goto followed by label semicolon. So if the label is defined afterwards, so this is forward jump. And if we have goto followed by label and here label is defined, so these are the statements. So here label is defined, so this is backward jump. So when goto statement is placed before the label, so before the label when it is placed in the program, control transfers to the label and some statements are skipped. So whatever statements are there here, so those statements are skipped. Such type of jump is called as forward jump. Now let us understand the use of goto statement with the help of program. So first one, backward jump we'll see. So in backward jump we have seen that, so goto followed by label. So first the label has to be defined, then goto is defined afterwards. So here as soon as the compiler sees this goto followed by label, control is transferred here. So wherever label has been defined. So this is backward jump. So in backward jump, certain statements are repeated. Now let us understand it with the help of one program. So here we have declared three variables, all are float variables, x, y and sum. So x, y and sum we have. Next, this is the label which is given. So name of the label is input. So input followed by colon. So after that, the statements below the label are, so this is the definition part. This is the definition of the label. So in the definition of the label, we have written two statements, printf, enter x and y. Enter x and y and also scanf. So scanf %f, ampersand x and ampersand y. So when this condition is seen here, so if x is less than or equal to 0 or y less than or equal to 0, so user has to enter the values of x and y. So depending upon this x and y values, so this condition will be either true or false. If this condition is true, then it will go here, control is transferred here. So the compiler sees goto statement followed by label. So wherever the label, so here label name is input. So here wherever this input has been defined, so this has been defined, so control will be transferred here. So control is transferred here. So again the printf and scanf will be evaluated. So these statements will be evaluated. So these are the two cases, these are the two test cases which we have given here. So first, when we run this program, so enter the values of x and y will be prompted. If we enter x value as 3 and y value as 4. So x is 3, so 3 less than or equal to 0, so that is false. Y is less than or equal to 0, that is also false. So control will not get transferred here. So it will go to the next statement. So sum is equal to x plus y. So we'll get the sum of x and y. 3 plus 4 is 7. So in this way, and this will be printed. Some value will be printed here. So output is 7 here. Next, if we enter another values, suppose we enter, so when we run this program for another test case, so program, control is transferred here. So enter the values of x and y. So suppose if we enter -1 and -2. So here in this case -1 and -2 are entered. So -1 is less than or equal to 0. -1 is less than 0 and -2 is also less than 0. So this condition becomes, so -1 is less than 0. This is true and this is true. So both are true means control is transferred here. So when the control gets transferred here, the compiler sees goto statement. So the label which we have defined here is input. So it will go to that definition. So wherever input we have defined, it will go again there. Again, the user will be prompted to enter the value of x and y. So we have to enter, the user has to enter the value of x and y. Suppose x and y values are 0 and 0. Now again this condition becomes true. So once this condition becomes true, again the control is transferred here. Wherever the label has been defined, the control will be transferred here. So again the user will be prompted to enter the value of x and y. So in this way, so these statements which are defined after the label, so they are repeatedly executed. So in this way, if once the condition becomes false, the next statements which are there, so those will be evaluated. So after that, if we enter the value of x and y as 1 and 3, so 1 is greater than 0 and 3 is also greater than 0. So this condition becomes false. So next line will be evaluated. Sum is equal to x plus y. So x plus y is 1 plus 3. So you'll get the answer as 4. So in this way, we can understand the use of goto statement in C. Next is forward jump. So we'll understand. So forward jump. So in forward jump, first goto followed by label, semicolon. After that, we define the label. So this is a small program to add the numbers from 1 to, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. So 3 plus 3 up to 5. So up to 5 we are adding 3 plus 3, 6 plus 4, 10, 10 plus 5, 15. So this is a program to print the to add the numbers from 1 to 5. So in order to write the program, we made use of goto statement in this. So let us see the program here. So in order to print the numbers or in order to add the numbers from 1 to 5, we have used for loop here. So for I is equal to 0. So in the for loop, we have taken the initialization done is for I is equal to 0. So loop will start from 0 until I less than or equal to 10. So next we have written the statement sum is equal to sum plus I. So for loop, for each value of I, some value will be calculated. Now if this condition becomes true, if I is equal to true, if I is equal to 5, if I is equal to 5, if this condition is evaluated to true, then control is transferred here, go to addition. So addition is the label name which is used here. So here addition is nothing but the label, This label has been defined here. So control is transferred here. Control is transferred to the label. So after the label, whatever statements are there, so those will be executed. So printf, sum will be printed. So in this way, so whatever statements are there after this label, these statements will be skipped and remaining. So wherever this label has been defined, so control will be transferred here. So after that, whatever statements are there, those will be executed. So here, if I is equal to 0, sum is equal to sum plus. So for I is equal to 0, sum is equal to some value is 0. So 0 plus 0 is 0. Next after that, I is equal to 1. So sum is equal to sum plus I. So I is equal to 1. Initial value of 0, sum is, now the sum value is equal to, sum value is changing in each iteration. Initially it was 0, now it is 1. So for I is equal to 0, sum is equal to 1. Now I is equal to 2, sum value will be equal to 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2, 3. Next after that, for I is equal to 3, sum value is equal to, so initial value is 3. 3 plus 4, 7. So initial value was 3. So 3 plus now 3. So 3 plus 3, now some value will be equal to 6. Now when I is equal to 4, so 4 will be added, some value is equal to 10. Now when I is equal to 5, so I is equal to 5 means some value is equal to, now some value is 10 plus 5. So this line will be executed, this statement will be executed, 10 plus 5 is equal to 15. Now I is equal to 5, so this condition becomes true. So when this condition becomes true, so next line is, so in the next line we have written the definition for goto along with the label. So we have written the definition for this addition. So whenever the program, whenever the control is transferred here, so it will go to this label. So label addition has been defined here. So it will come out of this loop. So after that, the statement after this label given here is printf. So some value will be printed. So output will be 15. So in this way, we can make use of this goto statement in C. So this is an example of forward jump. Now there are some certain disadvantages of using goto statement in C. So generally, in order to skip certain iterations, certain number of iterations, we use continue statement. And in order to terminate the loop, then we use break statement. So goto statement must be avoided. So why? Because it makes the logic more complicated. The control is transferred anywhere in the program. So although goto statement helps in transferring the flow from one block to another block, so user is discouraged to make use of this goto statement because of the following reasons. So these are the some of the reasons. So it makes the logic of the program much more complex. The program becomes complex. The use of goto statement in C can make the code much harder to follow, and it makes the code unreadable and thus tricky to debug. Debugging also becomes difficult. So use of two or more labels in goto statement in C generally leads to loss of structure of the code. So as we have seen, by using goto statement, control can be transferred anywhere in the program. So these are some of the disadvantages of using goto statements. So the program becomes complex and then code becomes unreadable. And if you are using more than one goto statements, then the structure of the code is also affected. So these are some of the disadvantages of using goto statement. So in this class, so in this video lecture, we have discussed about break continue. We have discussed about break continue and goto statements in C. So break is used to, it is used to terminate the loop. Whereas continue, it will skip the iteration. It will skip that particular iteration when this condition becomes true. When the condition before the goto statement becomes true, it will skip the iteration, whereas break statement is used to terminate the loop. So whereas goto statements, we can use them. Break and continue, these are to be used with loops only. So in this way, we have discussed the unconditional control structures, that is break, continue and goto statements in C. In the next video lecture, we will discuss about some more topics. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.